And finally, I've got my plague fishing graph that I ordered months and months ago. It is finally here. It's a SOLIX 12 G3 unit with all the bells and whistles. So that has to be installed. It's going to be mounted on a Type D ram mount, which should hold the weight of that fine. And I'm going to be mounting on the boat, and I'll do a short video of how chaotic that will be since I'm doing all the wiring in all its chaos myself. We also have the Humminbird Mega 360 that we're adding to the Ultrex unit that I already installed on the boat. So we'll see how that goes. Should be pretty straightforward, I think. And it should be a pretty capable little boat with that kind of equipment on it. Maybe a bit overkill for a 16-foot boat, but I don't think it's not the size that matters. It's how you use it. So we'll put the Mega 360 on the Ultrex, and the Ultrex and the Mega 360 and the new SOLIX unit, along with the Ethernet hub, will all talk to each other, hopefully, and it should be a nice integrated little system for this boat for fishing. So this is the back of the G3 unit. With the mount, I mean, you have the option of using the stock gimbal mount that I think then you can just mount to that. I don't know, that's getting a bit high, I think. I think I'm going to try to mount this base of this ram mount to the 4 mounting screws which are used for in-dash mounting. I think that's the way I'm going to go. I think I'll have enough articulation. And for anybody that's curious, these bolt holes are 10 by 24. So 10 by 24 thread is what you need for these bolt holes. And I mean, the length is going to depend on, you know, what you have with washers and whatnot. But 10 by 24. So yeah, I think we're going to mount this basically on there like that. And then this socket and whatnot can articulate. I think so. I think it's going to be big enough. If not, I'll have to run the gimbal on it too. Or Ram makes bigger. This is the short arm. They make a medium and long arm too. So I guess we'll see when we start to mount it on the boat. So to mount the SOLIX unit in this crest liner, we have to take this very large back panel off. It's super easy to do. I've already taken it off once to put the fuel cell in. And you'll see the construction of it is super heavy duty. So this is the plate, the rear plate of the boat removed now. You can see it's pretty heavy duty. I mean, especially around the seat mount. I mean, that is not going to flex or move at all, and it hasn't, so. And here's the plate removed and what's inside the back of the 1660, if you want to have a detailed look. Basically, this is the stock mounting position for the starting battery and the battery that's going to run the graph. It's going to run the Mega 360, and it's going to run the heading indicator. So 3 things will be on that, which should be fine. I mean, they don't draw that much current. So the trolling motors are on 2 dedicated batteries. And then this is the tank I mounted. Basically, it's on aluminum rails that are mounted to the boat, and then strapped to the boat with those big straps, and then it's foamed in place. So it's basically not going to be moving anywhere. There's the sending unit, which I still have to hook up, but the vent fuel hookup, which is a mercury fuel hookup, and then for filling, it just has a, you know, a fill nozzle at the back. You just flip that little plate up, fill it up. It's a 17-gallon tank. Super simple. For the wiring so far, I've added this little disconnect switch. Basically, you push that switch and it disconnects all of the, will disconnect all the electronics and auxiliary stuff. And the wiring. One thing Crestliner did, which thank God they did, they put a, you can see it there, a nice tunnel for any kind of wiring you want, and it's super easy to fish tape it through the boat. Like when I started doing this, I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be a nightmare, but no, it was super easy. Basically, you put the fish tape down, boom, hook it up. I've already added in here some auxiliary power wires going up, and we still have to add the transducer wire, and we have to add the sending unit wire from the fuel tank. And a plug for Jetwing, I have no affiliation with them, but their product is this wing system you can add to your jet outboard for low speed handling. And from what I can tell, it actually does help a bit. These outboards are horrendous backing up either way, but low speed handling going in forward, yeah, it adds some little rudders to your engine. When you're on plane, basically there's very little of this in the water. None of this is, all of this is basically out of the water, so very little of this is in the water. This is out of the water, so it doesn't have any effect there. Another neat thing about jet outboards is you have this grease port here that pretty much after every time you use it, you have to grease it with a grease gun. It's not a big deal. All right, mounting the transducer. Well, keep away from turbulent water. Well, the boat comes with a mounting plate for a transducer, and I don't see really anywhere else that you would want to mount it or could mount it. Being a jet outdrive, there's no prop direction, and that would be below the sponson, so I think just putting it there and making sure it's level, it's going to be pretty good to go. I guess I'll know when I'm on the water. And the side scanning, I don't know, maybe that splash plate there is a little close. Oh well, I think I'm gonna mount it there for sure. All right, holes drilled, and you need a 5/32 drill bit to do it. And do you think I could find my punch to punch holes before I drilled? No. I know I have my punch here somewhere, and I could not find it. Anyway, the holes went in fine, so either way. Okay, so make sure that once you've mounted it, it has got to be level. You have to mount the 6 7/16 Phillips head bolts with the lock washers into the Mega Side Imaging transducer, and you just tighten them hand tight, so don't strip the screws out. Then you have to mount the 1/2-inch bolts with Nylock nuts and washers. They're half inch, so just use a socket and a wrench. And just loosely do it. Don't tighten up anything. It should be easy to move around, so you have to adjust it later. And like I say, why drill once when you can drill twice? So the mount actually hangs down way, way lower than I thought, and I think it's too low. It's basically at the highest adjustment point. It's pretty much hanging in the water stream when the boat is on plane, so that's no good. So I'm gonna have to drill 3 new holes and reinstall it so it can sit higher. So I guess I have 3 speed holes in that aluminum bracket. All right, well, I think this is the final mounting. I think that looks pretty good. It is above the bottom of the hull, below the sponson. The only area that might be concerning is that spray guard, but I won't be able to tell until I'm on the water and see what the side imaging does. I might have to cut that piece out. We will see. But yeah, so it really does hang lower than the bracket, so I think that's going to work out great. There's no way it can get hung up on anything if the boat is sliding over something, and I can make it go a lot deeper if I'm not getting a good single. So, but I don't think it can go that much deeper. Maybe half an inch more before we start to get into the actual jet stream of the water going by the hull. But anyways, like they say, measure once instead of drilling twice. So we have about that much clearance from the bottom of the hull to the transducer, and we're gonna see if that's enough, but I can't go much higher, or I think the side imaging is gonna get interfered with this sponson, so I'm really gonna have to wait to see on the water. And I don't know about this foot here. I'm not sure what angle this shoots. I mean, it's got an angle like that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, the angle of the unit, but gonna have to really see. So this might have to be moved again, but we're gonna have to wait till we get on the water to test it, to be honest. All right, transducer wire mounted. I used one cable tie screwed into the transom at the top. I am not a big fan of drilling screwing holes into the bottom of the transom. I will have to see when the boat's at speed how much kind of wash is around that area, putting tension on that cable. If it's bad, I will obviously put a cable tie in the bottom. I left some room. But basically just routing the cable tie down the steering controls. Since they're mechanical, there's no electrical issues there. And then I'm going to pull the wires up to the console. So you just shoot your snake underneath the boat, and it comes out there. And then all you do is you attach the end of your cable. I would highly suggest to cover the connector up with some tape so that it doesn't get damaged going through. You tape it to the end and just pull it on through. All taped up. Trying to make sure that the tip of it is kind of sealed up. And that's about it. Just pull her on through. So you just pull. Oh. Excuse me. Just pull your wires through. And hopefully they don't get hung up on anything in there. But you just gotta be careful. Patient. That one seems a bit stuck. Come on. Oh, and there it is right there. So you got her already. Oh, there we go. And then you have your wire pulled through. Now you just gotta carefully pull it up, take the tape off, and off you go. So there we go. Transom plug, or not transom, transducer plug. And I also pulled a signal wire for the fuel tank sending unit too, so at the same time. Now the fun begins of wiring it all up. thinking about it a little more, I think the cleaner solution is to mount this Ethernet port right here. This is a little storage unit in the front of the boat, and then drill a grommet hole here, because this is not the hull. This is just a sheet aluminum above the hull. I confirmed that. So drill a grommet hole here, and then just feed all these cables here into the open space under there. And then this is kind of out of the way, and I can get access to it if I need to disconnect things or play with it or fix it or whatever in the future. I just think that's a better way. And I mean, I lose a little bit of storage space up here, but I don't think that's a really big deal. And there's more than enough space here to accommodate it. So I'm going to go with that route. So the beast is mounted. The SOLIX 12 is mounted. I've got the transducer cable, the Ethernet cable and power cable all ready to be plugged in. I haven't tested it yet, but it should work. I also hooked up the sending unit for my fuel tank. And I'm going to put the SOLIX 12 on a switched power supply. So I added this waterproof switch here. And then I'm going to put on this other switch power supply the little Minn Kota directional heading thing. And I'm going to, once it's all done, the Ethernet network will be on there as well. And I guess the Humminbird Mega 360, once that's wired in, will also be on the switch as well. So it's actually a lot of wiring. And one thing I learned is that the Mega 360, you can't just plug it into the network hub. So you basically, I don't know if it's why Humminbird does that, why they wouldn't make it so you could just plug it right into the network hub, and then your SOLIX unit or whatever can just see it from wherever it is on the boat. But it plugs directly into a back of another unit. So I had to order a splitting Y cable that basically will allow me to split the signal of the Mega 360, which will do the Mega 360 and the side imaging, and then the standard transducer, the Mega transducer at the back, will do down imaging and standard imaging. But you lose the capability of using the rear transducer as side imaging. So I don't know. Do I really want to buy another head unit just to run, have a dedicated rear side imaging versus the Mega 360 doing it? I don't know. No idea. We'll have to see, but we'll see how it works out. It's not overly intuitive on the website on what they're actually saying. So I'll continue on with the installation and see how it goes. But the SOLIX 12 looks nice. I used the big D RAM mount for it. And I think I'm going to be able to take off this windscreen and just flip it around and use it from the seat. That's not here, obviously, but, and just, use it from the seat. I can do all the button pushing and stuff from here too. And then when I want to use it as regular GPS, just flip it around. I don't think that'll be a big deal. So one thing I would highly recommend to do is just before you plug in your, $4,000 SOLIX or whatever your unit costs are crazy expensive, just verify the voltage you have it hooked up to so that nothing bad happens. So I think that's just a good thing to do in general, and make sure it's fused properly too. The SOLIX 12 requires a 5-amp fuse, just for your knowledge. So that's it with all the wires pulled through. The network hub is going to go right there. I'm going to have a little fuse panel right here. You've got your, this is going to be a switched power 12 volt going to the fuse panel. Then you've got your positive, negative, and drain wire, which I'll have to ground to the boat. This is for the Mega 360. And then this doesn't have to be fed through because it's going to be in this cabinet because it's powering. This is the power connector and leads that will go to the fuse panel and then into the network hub to power the network hub. And then I got a little grommet here that I don't even know if I'll screw that down, but maybe I'll just put some silicone in there. It's not open to anything anyway, so yeah. Assembling the Mega 360 is pretty straightforward. You have a bracket and a mounting bracket, and if it's on the left side of the boat, it assembles like this, and it basically just two screws in there and two screws there. It's pretty easy. So the Mega 360 mounted approximately. So where the bracket goes on, you got your transducer wire and your power wire that have to be hooked up. You have to make sure that this is nowhere near the propeller, at least 1 inch away, so that's got to be adjusted. And also the direction vane on the transducer, the fat round end has to face directly into the parallel into the water, parallel with the boat. Then you install the shaft collar. Basically this collar just stops the motor from being able to go up out of position from where you set it, because obviously if it goes up higher the propellers will hit the transducer, which would be a bad thing. Obviously you can adjust it down farther with your down adjuster, but the collar's there to prevent the 360 from going in contact with the propeller and the motor from going up. And that's how much it pretty much sits once you're done with the directional vane parallel with the boat and the propeller blade minimum 1 inch from the transducer. So it's definitely more than an inch, maybe an inch and maybe 2 inches. So we'll have to test it on the water to see if there's any issues. Obviously in the shop here it's very hard to tell. So, and then you just neatly route the cable, obviously away from the shaft because that spins. I just followed the Ultrex and I-Link cabling here, zip tied it all off into a nice bundle. And unfortunately my grommet I used from before will not accommodate this giant Mega 360 transducer connector. So I'm gonna have to put another grommet right beside this, and this will connect eventually to a Y connector and then make its way to the SOLIX 12. So I have a new hole drilled for the transducer for the Mega 360 and a grommet put in place. I'm still waiting for the cable for that, so that might be a while. And then we have the Humminbird Ethernet hub mounted, and I mounted a fuse panel for it. So the main power line coming in from the console and the ground, and then we have the power for the Ethernet just there, and then the Mega 360 negative positive with a 3 amp fuse. And then I also used this mounting screw that's into the aluminum as the drain wire. It says you must have the drain wire on there, so the drain wire is there. I guess the electronics is sensitive in some way, and that the shielding on this cable has to be drained to ground. So, and I already verified I have a good ground, so it should be good. On to the next step, which is energizing this, and then testing it to make sure power is coming up here. And we should almost be ready. I'm waiting for 1 amp fuses, if you could believe it. There's some kind of plague shortage of 1 amp fuses. So there's some things I can't power up because I don't have a 1 amp fuse. I got 3 amp, 5 amp, and blah, 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 all the rest of the amps, but not a 1 amp. So there we go. So I am just finishing up the final bit of wiring. Basically this larger wire here, it's a bigger gauge, it's going a longer distance in the boat. So this wire goes from the switch all the way to the front of the boat to the fuse panel that I can draw power from, and it's fused as well. And then the other side of the switch is going to go to this fuse panel. It's double fused, I suppose, but this gives me better control. I'll put a 10 amp fuse here, and then the individual components at the front will be fused with a 1 amp and a 3 amp. So, but that's just to prevent if something shorts in the middle of the boat, it doesn't melt this giant wire down that could, you know, maybe cause a fire or something like that. So, and this is all switched now, so I could switch on the hub and switch on the Mega 360 and so on up at the front of the boat, and turn it off obviously when I'm not using the boat, so there's no, you know, parasitic drain or who knows what's going on. Anyways, yeah, so it's coming together good. And while I have the boat ripped apart, I also added a little, I don't know if you can see it well, but a little marine hatch basically in this bulkhead to utilize all of the space I have back there. So I can just throw life jackets or whatever back in there, since this whole side of the this open space is not being used by anything. So we'll see how that works. Should work pretty good. Behold, the Goliath has awoken. So, looks like everything seems to be working. I even paired my phone with this thing. I have to get it on the water to test it, basically. I mean, I can't test really any of the transducers inside or the functionality of the Ethernet. So, but I think the install went pretty good. I mean, it looks clean. I still have to clean up all the, you know, tools and everything. But, excuse me. The only thing left to do really is to run the Y cable to the Mega 360, from the Mega 360, sorry, and from the rear transducer, and then plug it in and see what happens. The website Hummingbird, the Hummingbird website is not really clear on what's going to happen. They say that you can't get the rear Mega side imaging transducer to work. It'll be off the 360 somehow. I have no idea. I was online and there were some people complaining about how it worked or whatever, so it's going to be a crapshoot. Worst case, I'm going to pull 2 cables up here and I could switch the cables. I don't know, that's kind of hokey, but I guess maybe it's some kind of ploy to sell more head units so that you have to plug it in so it integrates into the system. It seems like a pretty cockeyed way of doing it if that's the case, but I'm surprised there's no aftermarket company that comes up with a either a manual or digital transducer switch that you could just, like, you know, switch between the transducers, and or make the Ethernet system work in a way that you just plug everything in, it recognizes it and sends it to the whatever head unit, all the head units or one head unit in the system. But apparently it's not like that. So, well, it's high tech, but not that high tech. Anyway, so this thing looks really, really good. I mean, maybe it's a little big for this dash and this size boat, but you know, I don't want to be squinting, and when I'm looking at the charts and stuff, I want to be able to see it really, really well. So it looks really nice. Like, I mean, looks like a top-notch piece of electronics here. Also mounted the RAM phone mount for the smartphone. So yeah. Anyways, I'll probably clean the boat up and do one last little shot. And here's the final product. Everything installed, ready to go. All that's left now is the final water trial and testing, and bringing the manuals with me, because it might be complex to set up. We'll see.